Welcome in to the Dirty Pocket, the Tuesday night edition after the AFC NFC Championship games. I am joined by my co-host, the Scout, Daniel Kelly. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. Just sitting here reminiscing tonight. Just coming in hot. But reminiscing tonight about what happened 35 years ago tonight. Being a Redskins fan, since birth. Basically, 35 years ago tonight, January 31st, 1988, the quarter, Redskins 42, Broncos 10, Doug Williams, Super Bowl 22. I remember it like it was yesterday. Timmy Smith, the posse, the Hogs, the whole Joe Gibbs, the whole group. As a matter of fact, I wore my Dexter Manley jersey today in honor of that great day in Redskins history. So I'm stoked. I'm fired up. I'm operating on 4 hours of sleep. From 12 until 2 last night, I wrote an article that went up on the on First Round Mock today. I couldn't sleep. And what happens is these ideas come in my mind and they won't leave my mind, and I can't rest until I write it. So I sat there on my phone in the dark in bed with my wife, Samantha. She's sleeping, got the dog in between us, like one of our dogs, Roxy. And then I'm typing a picture of this in the dark, typing on my phone, an article about the 5 most important positions a team can draft in the first round. And then I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm ready to go again. And I'm doing my thing. So, I mean, it's around the clock just about at this point.
I tell you what, man, I'm fried too. See people, the life of a content creator, appreciate it. What are we drinking to get this thing started? MTO, welcome in, my friend.
Welcome, MTO. What's going on?
He's got some comments flying already. So what do we got to drink?
Let's listen.
Oh boy,
we're opening it right now.
Yeesh.
Okay, we're going to go with something. We're going with a little super fuel tonight. Okay.
Wow.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire, right? And we're going with some super fuel. This is a perfect bedtime snack for me. Okay. It does have some natural energy vitamins, sparkling blue raspberry, but look at that alertness. It's got all these things, minerals,
just what you
energy.
need.
Now check this out, right? Check this out. This is great, right? This is what sold me. Your kick in a can. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Some marketing person is very happy you highlighted that right now.
Absolutely. Well, they can repay that love by taking on the show as a corporate sponsor.
Yeah.
That would be great, right? Because ZV hasn't picked us up yet. So we got to do something, right? Now check this out. Here's my rendition. Ready really quickly?
Okay.
When you're the Dallas Cowboys and your name is Micah Parsons and this just happened to you, you got your can kicked, reach for Super Fuel. Ta-da!
Wow.
This message furnished by the National Football League.
I'm sure Mr. Parsons is super excited to be mentioned on this show. We'll get to him in just a second.
Please, yes.
MTO, welcome in just briefly. Yeah, that Senior Bowl thing is happening, and we've already got them We've already got some comments coming in based on first round mock and some of the early predictions there. Ooh, man. Okay. I love it. We're going to check that out. NFL draft stuff is coming up on this show for sure. But we're going to rapid fire on what has been another incredible week.
I got to taste this.
Okay, taste it. Give us the taste test. I'll tell you, 2 incredible games.
That's a kick in the can.
Okay. That's a real kick in the can. Okay. Very nice. Let's just, we got a rapid fire. I mean, we got some things that didn't even make our list that I'm going to have to throw in there maybe in favor of something else because it's been a busy afternoon in the NFL and been crazy. Let's just start first with the Micah Parsons no-show. Against the San Francisco 49ers. We're about a week late. The Niners no-showed themselves this past Sunday. Losing another quarterback, Kyle Shanahan, and another devastating loss in the NFC Championship. But what do we make of Micah Parsons? And then apparently he goes out and wishes the Eagles good luck. What?
Yeah, this, as my dad used to say, the plot thickens. This is getting more bizarre by the day. To your point there, MTO, I mean, yeah, Micah Parsons, we touched on it last week. I'll touch on it again this week. I never get tired of talking about Micah Parsons. I have more juice than he has, okay? I love talking about Micah Parsons. I labeled him pre-draft as an explosive underachiever. Looks like I hit 100% on that because you're right, MTO. When it comes to the playoffs, number 11, this is what my wife Samantha asked me, okay? She's a Cowboys fan. She asked me after the game, did Micah Parsons play today? And she didn't know. I mean, it was an honest question. It was an honest question. She didn't even know if he played. She thought he missed the game. And so, yeah, so that tells you something when you know somebody who's really dialed into the team doesn't even know if 11 played. You know, and he was, you know, it was a no-show this year in the playoffs against the 49ers. It was a carbon copy of last year's playoff game against the 49ers when he was another no-show. This guy is an overhyped, overpaid player that basically is nothing but autograph star power. The first thing I would do if I became the GM of the Dallas Cowboys is run him out of town.
What? Oh, okay. We said on the show that I think he's a bigger talent. I know you cannot stand him.
No, it's not that I can't stand him. I can't have laziness on my football team as a GM. I can't have guys that choose to take plays off, are bad for the locker room, bad for morale, the guys who are bad for team chemistry, guys that turn it on when they want to, turn it off the rest of the time, allow touchdowns, big plays, only live to be on SportsCenter. I can't have that on my team. I would rather have a backup punter sitting in my roster who's a team player than have a guy like Micah Parsons who only plays when he wants to play and lets his team down repeatedly in the playoffs. That's just me.
Really
and
weird.
if I'm ever a GM, I'm going to swing that stick. I'm going to do it.
Okay. Old school versus new school. A lot of mouthing off and wishing the Eagles good luck.
See, that's
interesting
another
comment
thing.
here.
That's another thing here. Wishing the Eagles, I mean, this would cause somebody like a George Allen to roll over in his grave, okay? The old Redskins coach, okay? Rivalries. Where's the rivalries? You know, wishing, you know, go win the bowl. Go, you know, wishing him luck for the NFC East. That's ridiculous. This is a division I grew up in the 1980s, and trust you and me, I was never once sitting there saying, "Hey, go Giants, go win this one for the Gipper." I mean, it just didn't happen. And so, yeah, so I mean, Parsons is definitely taking a step backwards with that comment. But, you know, that's the NFL today. You know, everybody's always hugging and kissing after the games and shaking hands. And, you know, a guy plays for the Packers this week and next week he's on the Vikings. You know, nobody cares anymore. It's just a lot of people don't, I should say. That's the problem. But that Parsons thing, that didn't sit well with me either.
Yeah, pretty wild. Parsons, he's a week old. I do have to agree with MTO here. The Kayvon Thibodeau situation, where he's also saying maybe the Giants are better than the Niners based on this past Sunday's game. Kayvon Thibodeau, again, Oregon Duck, so really familiar with him. I thought he was massively overdrafted. But, you know, yeah, I agree, MTO. He's popping off on Jeff Saturday, on Joe Staley. He's saying that the Giants are better than the Niners because the Niners are down to their fifth quarterback. I mean, kind of an odd guy. I don't think he's making a whole lot of fans across the league. And boy, I tell you what, he better show up bigger next year. What do you have, 4 or 5 sacks this year?
A lot of pressures.
Like the third pick in the draft.
A lot of pressures.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's terrible.
Number 5. A lot of pressures. And I said that pre-draft in my article that he was going to be more of a pressure guy than a sack guy. But he got a lot of pressures. I heard his name every week down the stretch. A lot of big plays going on in the pocket. And you know, and I will never detest you, MTO. You're our biggest fan. I could never detest you. I mean, for saying what you said there. But, you know, I'm a Kayvon fan. You know, I had a mock number 4 to the Jets. I think that, you know, there's, you know, he took the Giants. He helped get them to the playoffs. There's an age-old battle. Do we take the pass rusher at the corner? I love Ahmad Gardner too. But, yeah, it's you know, hey, but I said at pre-draft that I think he's the best linebacker the Giants have had, you know, there since LT. And I sense that time period. And I think he's got that mouth. He's disruptive. He's the leader of that team. He's vocal. he does back it up on the field too. I'm not sure the exact pressures. The guys aren't feeding me the info from the white truck, but but I do think he had a lot of pressures. I know he did, in fact. So I mean, but that's okay. We can have differences of I mean, if anyone's mouth is going to get him run out of the NFL, it's Micah Parsons with his comparing player, terroristic stuff and talking all this nonsense all the time and all the things that he says. So it's just a matter of time before his mouth gets him run out of the league.
I'll tell you what, folks, we're gonna design some sort of a contest here on the Dirty Pocket. It's an all expense paid dinner, party of 3 with the scout. Micah Parsons and Trey Lance all breaking bread and sitting at a table together.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
And you get invited to the party.
Can I bring a 3rd-round pick with me? Because that's all the 49ers will get for Trey Lance. Can I bring a 3rd-round pick?
Can
I bring a 3rd-round pick to the dinner of the biggest bust in NFL history and draft history? Can I bring a 3rd-round pick with me?
Oh, man. Okay, I brought up the name Trey Lance way too early. I want to get to a couple other things before we even go that direction. Look, it happened in the last couple hours. Sean Payton, head coach of the Denver Broncos. The Saints get a 1st-rounder, a 2nd-rounder next year, and the Broncos get Sean Payton and a 3rd-rounder, I believe it was. I got to ask, am I the only one who's putting the pieces together? You got Sean Payton, you got Russell Wilson, who stature-wise looks a little bit similar to this guy named Drew Brees that Coach Payton coached into the record books and beyond. He's got a great wide receiver room. The defense speaks for itself. Sean Payton to the Broncos. What do we make of this, people?
Well, here's what's going to happen. The Denver Broncos are going to be the worst team in the National Football League in 2023. They're going to have the worst record, and I'll tell you why, okay? Have we not been paying attention to his fascination with Caleb Williams? This is what he's waiting for. This is the job he took because thinks he's going to be sitting there ready for Caleb Williams. That's my opinion. That's what I think is going to happen there. It's a very strange fit in my mind. I did not. That's the last team. Well, actually, the second to last team I expected him to end up with. The Cardinals being the last team I expected him to end up with. But that's a very weird fit. And boy, oh boy, the Dallas Cowboys, they might be kicking themselves down the road here because that one little playoff win basically cost them Sean Payton. And because McCarthy would have been gone had they lost that game.
Yeah, they still could have. I mean, that's where Jerry. Yeah. And then half the Cowboys coaching staff's been let go across the board, including Kellen Moore.
That's always the first step before the coach goes. You got to get rid of some of the assistants first. They go first.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I find the whole move fascinating as hell, and the reason being, much to MTO's point here, Denver forfeited another draft pick. They've got a lot of problems. Their wide receiver group is nice. Russell Wilson, we're not sure if he's still Russell Wilson. Defense is solid. But it's not like Sean Payton has a lot of pieces to build with through the draft. They've been decimated by the Russell Wilson piece, certainly salary cap-wise. Really weird. What do we make of Demeco Ryans returning to the Houston Texans after a stellar performance as defensive coordinator with the 49ers? He goes home to where he was once the captain there, and now he's the head coach.
Yeah, well-deserved. He's been a great coach for the San Francisco 49ers on the defensive side of the ball. And, I think that's a really good situation for everyone across the boards there in Houston. I think he'll do a really, really good job. He fires everybody up as a disciplinarian. He's a guy that the players respond to. And, I like the move. I think it's a good move for the Houston Texans for sure.
Yeah, interesting point, MTO. Demeco Ryans, a defensive guy, much like Robert Salah.
Well, that's an
interesting point.
I think Ryans has a lot stronger personality than Robert Salah. I think so. That's going to be, that might be part of it there.
Ryans was a hell of a player too.
Yeah,
I mean, he's another one of those London Fletcher types that their name doesn't get mentioned enough, and they were very, very good linebackers when they played professional football. Mm-hmm. Let's shift gears for a minute before we leave the coaching ranks, give ourselves a kick in the can. A couple of big moves in the offensive coordinator world. Let's start with my least favorite one to talk about. Kellen Moore leaves the Cowboys to go to the Chargers. I find this puzzling.
Yeah.
I find this very Justin Herbert on a rookie contract with his prime in front of him. Kellen Moore? What? Am I the only one?
Yeah, that's a really weird situation, to say the least. It's not only weird, like, as you point out, Stacy, about him going to the Chargers and that whole chemistry there, but it's really surprising to me that the chemistry between him and Dak Prescott there in Dallas, that Jerry Jones would allow for that to be shaken up and in a different. I mean, that's there was talk at one point that Kellen, would becoming the next head coach of the Cowboys, maybe even. I mean, to let him get away like that and go out to the Chargers. I mean, that's a very strange situation. I don't see that being a good fit at all. Do you, Stacey?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
and
no.
MTO brings up the point I was thinking. It all happened like within hours of him being let go at the Cowboys, almost like it was prearranged or there was an agreement in place. I find it very difficult that the Chargers vetted that. And when Kellen Moore's our guy, within hours of the Cowboys canning him, very weird story. And I got to tell you, my top three quarterbacks at this point in this league, especially on the younger guy side, are Mahomes, Burrow, and Justin Herbert. And Herbert's getting a raw end of the deal on the coaching piece. He just is.
Yeah, and there's one interesting thing I'd like to add to this one caveat, or what they say, right? There's one little tidbit here, okay? Offensive and defensive coordinators always look for the team they can go to that gives them the best chance to become the interim head coach.
Okay.
And Kellen Moore Brandon Staley was under some heat there. He was on the hot seat a little bit.
I agree. I would have got, if I were me in the Chargers, I would have got rid of him.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost like they bring in Kellen Moore as kind of like that coach in waiting. That if things go south, if they don't go as high as expected, all of a sudden, boom, Kellen Moore is the next head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Very interesting situation, because that's the only way the situation makes sense to me, is Kellen Moore took this job with the understanding that if Brandon Staley, if he fails, he's the next coach of the Chargers. That's the only way this makes sense.
Okay, interesting take. It's certainly an upgrade at the quarterback position. I'm sorry, Dak Prescott is a run-of-the-mill quarterback.
Samantha disagrees with you. My wife would disagree with you.
I respect Samantha's opinion.
She thinks he's better than any Rams quarterback in the history of their organization.
That's fascinating. She might want to check in with several Pro Football Hall of Famers, Warner, Van Brocklin. Anyway,
here we go. I was playing.
I look at.
I can't speak for her.
I mean, Herbert is really special, and this is interesting. Let's shift gears to the, with 2 weeks to go, the world champion Los Angeles Rams. Mike LaFluer. We've got a Jets fan tuned in here. We've got a Jets writer for Sports Illustrated tuned in here. Mike LaFluer leaves the Jets after a kind of a nothing burger. It wasn't awful. It was better. What do we make of Sean McVay jumping on baby LaFleur and making him the guy in Los Angeles?
You know why it was a nothing burger with the Jets?
It's got to be offensive line related.
No, it has to do with Zach Wilson being between the buns.
Of course. I should have.
It's because Joe Douglas doesn't know how to build an offensive line, number one, and number two, it's because of Zach Wilson being in the middle of the hamburger buns there. Okay?
I should have seen the Zach Wilson thing coming.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously Mike White stepped in and the Jets, performed better when White was in there, which to me showed the real capability of a Mike LaFleur. A few weeks back in Jets SI, I put together a plan to take over as the general manager of the New York Jets and published it. And in that plan, Mike LaFleur was going to be my head coach and Mike White was going to be my quarterback. And we win the Super Bowl for the Jets next year. Wow. I'm a big believer in Mike White. I think this is the hottest up-and-coming young coach in football at this point. I mean, wow. I was super high on Mike McDaniel. I was super high on Brian Dabo as well with the Giants. For the last 2-3 years, I was high on Dabo. I think that Mike LaFleur is headed in the direction that football is headed. What do I mean by this? Well, to me, Mike LaFleur has a bunch of different trick plays that he mixes into his offense, his game plan repertoire. Now, last year, not this year, but the year before, we saw some of those trick plays coming out, and they worked very well. Go back and watch the Jets against the Miami Dolphins in Miami when they ran all these trick plays in the first half. We didn't see a lot of that going forward. Why, I'm not too sure. I can always speculate my mind offline. But to me, I think the game is going to evolve. We're starting to see these positionless players more and more. They're moving around all over the place. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of this razzle-dazzle stuff on offense. I think we're going to start to see eventually multiple offensive touches by multiple players on the same play. It's sometimes more of a rugby-style football. And I think Mike LaFleur fits that perfectly. And to me, to see your guy with the Rams, bring him in, McVay, and bring him in there, it really speaks volumes of Mike LaFleur. I think this is a great move for Mike, for Coach LaFleur. I think this is a great move for him. I think it's a real good chemistry fit. You would know that better than me because being a Rams guy, but I see the chemistry. Like we just got done talking about how Kellen Moore doesn't fit the Chargers at all. This fits. This makes sense to me, Mike LaFleur, and they're all kind of from the same tree too. So the coaching tree. So I think it's a great move by the Rams. It's really, I give the move an A+.
Oh, God, I love this. MTO brings up a good point when he brings out, how will McVay let LaFleur flourish? Little fun there with words. Will he let him McFlourish?
McFlourish. Because McVay, it's like an ice cream treat or something, McFlurry.
I'll tell you what, McVay, I've always been, so happy for him, drives me nuts type guy. His play calling at times looks abysmal. I'm sorry, it's just abysmal. And I'm going to be real curious to see if he hands the reins to LaFleur, especially after threatening to retire from burnout and all this other stuff. It's going to be interesting to watch. A couple of big moves in the coaching ranks, we didn't even talk about Frank Reich to Carolina. Interesting move. We'll see what happens there, especially at the quarterback position. But let's move along real quickly with the news today. And man, am I excited. I hope I can sleep. I literally can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't wait. I need a kick in the can because I am waiting with bated breath for my favorite game of the year every year, known as the Pro Bowl. It is filled with incredible football. And what a deal today to find out that Derek Carr as the 452nd alternate and Tyler Huntley of the Ravens as the 6,732nd alternate at quarterback will be showing their wares at the Pro Bowl. MTO is on to what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. That's what I said offline with you, Stacy.
Okay.
This sets it up perfectly.
Is this what come on, you two. Is this for real? Do we really think they're going to let Lamar Jackson walk and Tyler Huntley is the Ravens' new quarterback?
I think so. I think so. I don't think that they're going to make that kind of investment in Lamar Jackson because here's why. Okay, when they put Huntley in there this year, Huntley had a higher completion percentage than Lamar did on the season. And we saw what Tyler Huntley did in the playoff game against Cincinnati. He held his own. Listen, if you don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, don't do it. You can allocate the money somewhere else. You can get a similar game out of Huntley as you got from Lamar. I think it's set up, and I think they're going to basically. I mean, they can go out and take my QB3 in the upcoming draft. Okay, they can take Malik Cunningham. They can bring him in there. Listen, Malik Cunningham had a higher quarterback rating than Lamar Jackson at Louisville. He had a higher completion percentage than Lamar Jackson and a higher yards per pass completion than Lamar did at Louisville. And I think he's got better ball placement than Lamar too, downfield ball placement. And he's every bit the runner Justin Fields is. Okay, they can bring in a Malik Cunningham in the draft. Okay, and they can put him behind Huntley, and they'll have two of these guys and basically they'll have the money to allocate elsewhere. I think Lamar Jackson's run his course. I think this is a political setup to give Tyler Huntley the little extra push with the Pro Bowl games that you talked about, MTO. And I think this is basically this is setting the table for the end of Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
It's an interesting take. I have always thought Lamar Jackson seemed like a great guy and a great kid. He's dynamic athlete.
Oh, he is.
I got to be straight up with this. Everybody listening on this crazy little show, I wouldn't touch Lamar Jackson with a 40-foot pole at quarterback. I just wouldn't. I know he's been MVP. He's special as an athlete, but sorry, folks. I've seen this before. His accuracy comes into question.
Well,
who's going to spend that kind of money on Lamar Jackson this year? What team? When you look around, maybe who would it be? Maybe the Commanders.
The Commanders.
Would it be? Would Arizona with the Cardinals because of this whole thing going on with Kyler Murray's knee now? And
well, you and I talked about last year. We sat here saying who in their right mind would ever give Kyler Murray that kind of money after being 21-23-1 as a record? And look at the Cardinals; they did it. So, I mean, the money's there from these TV deals or the YouTube thing and all this. The money's there. So they're gonna have the money. The cap's been raised up to $224.9 million or something. They're gonna have the money. So somebody's gonna spend this money because guess what? Lamar Jackson is star power. You can sell a lot of Lamar Jackson jerseys. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's I mean, this is right up the Commanders' alley. You know, they're bringing a guy in like that. I mean, Baltimore's gotten all the love. The Commanders have lost a bunch of fans to the Ravens. This is a perfect move from across town to bring Lamar Jackson into Washington and go from there. I mean, that's you know, and let it run its course. But to your point, Stacey, I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's been, you know, the Ravens' top, you know, quarterback and rusher for the last 3 years, I think, running. But the thing of it is, he's always ranks between number about 20 and 27 in terms of his colleagues, in terms of passing, because of the ball placement issues that you're talking about. So, yeah, does he create a lot of excitement, a lot of drama? Does he generate a lot? Do they win? Yes. You know, these type of things, all those things are true. But as far as like accuracy, no. It's not there, and that's why we haven't seen the Ravens make a deep push.
I mean, I'm looking around at teams. The only one that I think like I'd put some weight on if I had to bet was maybe the Houston Texans need some kind of star power, and they go go a different direction in the draft and build around that. Nonetheless, who else? I look at the landscape: Rams, Seahawks, maybe the Cardinals with Kyler Murray's injury. Don't see it. Not for that money. Do the Saints want him? I mean, you start going down a list of what ifs and what have you, and it's pretty limited because of the price tag he's going to command. And I'm sorry, folks. He's been more durable than most for guys that run a lot, but this is the beginning of that slide. And I don't know. I'm very curious to see what happens with Lamar Jackson, but I just want to say this. The Pro Bowl is a joke. Can they just end that? End that game. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, just
like flag football,
words.
Isn't it?
It's not even flag football anymore. It's so dumb. Now it's contests and cake tossing and pin the tail on the donkey. I don't know what it is. It's certainly not the NFL, and it's really stupid. Like, Tyler Huntley made it. Derek Carr's cheering that he gets to go back to Vegas for I'm like, what? Guys regularly bail on that thing.
Right.
It's crazy. Anyway, Pro Bowl's a whole nother conversation. Just wrapping things up, I feel like we need to end here at the risk of this going well over time this week. Here we go. The Niners failed. I did not cry. I did not mind. In fact, I did this. I'm a Rams fan, people. But are the rumors true, Scout? After literally a year and a half of verbal and digital abuse on everything Trey Lance, are the rumors true that people are thinking maybe they could get a third rounder out of Trey Lance on a reconstructed leg? Oh, man.
This is going to go down as the worst trade on draft day in NFL history. Okay.
So bad.
3 number 1 draft picks for a guy who's done nothing Okay. And now they're talking about anonymous GMs are talking about him, being worth a 3rd round pick at this point. Listen, the 49ers have to be like they're in a game show. If somebody's offering a 3rd round pick, take it, because next year it's going to be a 5th or 6th round pick. Take it fast. Get it fast.
It's a no round pick in no time.
Absolutely. This is the last. This might be the last time you even get a draft pick for Trey Lance. Okay, this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if there's somebody out there now, I do believe that the 49ers signed off on Rand Carthon going to Tennessee as an exit strategy for Trey Lance.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see Trey end up in Tennessee out there. I wouldn't be surprised at all, or working a deal, or maybe going to the Jets or something like that, like we talked about, in exchange for Zach Wilson and a bag of chips or something. But I mean, yeah, it's a disaster, and it's something that Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch have got to get out now from underneath.
They might as well cut their losses. It's not going to happen. And I'll tell you what was it for me. And I mean it for me. And we tweeted it out on the Dirty Pocket Twitter. When you're in an NFC Championship game for like the 6th time.
Yeah, this was a good pickup by you. You saw this.
And I am watching Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo laughing it up in street clothes when they're getting destroyed by the Eagles. Not only do I miss the old NFL, where guys actually seem to care a lot more, but watching your 2 starting quarterbacks laughing their asses off on national television while the team is down to its last quarterback, Josh Johnson, and he got hurt, and Purdy has to go back in with one arm, who now they're saying ligament damage, maybe out 6 months. That was it for me and Trey Lance, and the whole Jimmy G won't be there. I know you think he'll come back as backup. I think the Niners are going to have to burn this thing to the ground. They've got to be absolutely sick to their stomach about missing this one, because they won't be the same team next year.
Well,
Players change.
I tell you what, if anybody in that sideline deserved to laugh, it's Jimmy Garoppolo, because they treated him like they treated him like trash. You know what I mean? They're during this offseason. And then he came back in and was basically to save your organization again.
Yep.
And I don't think, we don't know the circumstances of what was being said on the sidelines or what happened that particular moment or anything. But I agree, that was ridiculous, and
it's just bad.
I mean, there's a reason why I was the only person in America that said that Trey Lance should be an undraftable free agent pre-draft, and I labeled him as a bust. There's a reason why.
Yeah.
And it's played out exactly the way I said it would in my pre-draft report online, if you check it out.
Love it. Well, hey, folks, we are out of time. We got to go with parting shots, and I want to give our guest a parting shot right from the get-go. Very interesting take. I don't think Aaron Rodgers does at MTO. I think there's a very good chance Aaron Rodgers retires. He's going to need, the one team that I think, and I don't know how they could swing this, it would be interesting if the Minnesota Vikings could pull something off for Aaron Rodgers. Much like this Jets combo with MTO, with the Jets did with Favre, and then he went to the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings that defense is abysmal, but I just don't see him going to the Jets either. I don't think you have anything to worry about.
Yeah. The thing with the Jets, I mean, I wrote an article this week for SI Jets, about Aaron Rodgers, 3 reasons he won't end up there, and number one, their offensive line, he would get killed because they don't really have one. 2, they don't really have the salary cap room for him at all. They have a lot of needs. Their offensive line is a much more bigger priority. And number 3, they can't afford the draft capital. This team has got to replenish their offensive line. If they don't do it, it doesn't matter. They could bring Bart Starr back. It won't make any difference because they won't be able to protect him.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Okay, I'm going to go with my parting shot, then yours, the Scout. My parting shot is do away with the Pro Bowl. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Either that or get some kids involved. Let's get some charity. Let's do something that gives back to the community, to kids, Pop Warner, some kind of football. Do something else. This is the dumbest thing ever, and it's getting worse year by year. The Mannings are coaching, and they're playing pin the tail on the donkey this year. It's just ridiculous. Let's do something for kids, NFL, especially after the very rough year you've had. And my other final parting shot is, my God, the officiating has gotten bad. Just horrifically bad in some of these games. Shockingly bad. Other than that, Scout, parting shots.
Well, my parting shot is I think we need to stop with the Anthony Richardson nonsense, the quarterback from the Florida Gators, who makes Trey Lance look like a superstar. That's all bad Anthony Richardson is, okay?
Wow.
We got to stop with the Anthony Richardson nonsense and start looking at Malik Cunningham as a first-round draft pick coming into this draft. Because if you look at their numbers, Cunningham has a higher completion percentage than what Richardson had this year, and they're about equal in terms of running. And the draft community sees Richardson as being a first-rounder and Cunningham as being an undraftable free agent. I'd venture to say it's the other way around.
Okay, parting shots, MTO, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson getting a lot of attention, and I think too that both of these guys will go the route of Mitch Trubisky and Trey Lance. There, I said it. I just don't see it, guys. I'm sorry, folks. That's it for the Dirty Pocket this week. We tried to rapid fire. This whole week was a kick in the can. In the can. We want to thank you for joining us. You find us on YouTube, Twitch. You can find the Scout every single day at firstroundmock.com, where he's breaking down draft prospects. You can find myself as co-host of the Gridiron Icon podcast with former LA Ram Preston Denard, MTO, and all those that might be listening and watching. Thank you again for a great week.
Thank you, MTO. Everybody's listening. Thank you, guys.
Next week, we're talking Super Bowl picks. Until then, wherever you may be well, and keep the pocket clean. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Drink some super fuel before bed.
Or not.